In the marble halls of the Supreme Court, a pivotal battle is underway, one that could fundamentally reshape the landscape of American democracy for generations to come. The stakes are immense, and the outcome will reverberate far beyond the courtroom. At the heart of this legal showdown is a question that strikes at the core of our electoral system. How much influence should money have in deciding who leads our nation? The answer could redefine American elections, impacting every voter and every candidate. Standing at the center of this storm is Marc Elias, a prominent Democratic attorney whose career has been dedicated to defending voting rights and upholding campaign finance laws. Known for his relentless advocacy and sharp legal mind, Elias has become a key figure in the fight to preserve the integrity of the democratic process. This marks Elias's fifth appearance before the Supreme Court, a testament to his expertise and commitment. Today, he's defending a crucial campaign finance rule that limits how much political parties can coordinate spending with their candidates, a rule now under fierce challenge from Republican interests. The case at hand could determine whether political parties are allowed to spend unlimited sums in direct coordination with their chosen candidates. If the rule is struck down, it could open the floodgates to unprecedented levels of spending, fundamentally altering the balance of power in American elections. Elias warns that removing these limits would unleash a torrent of unregulated cash into the political system, giving wealthy donors and special interests even more sway over who gets elected and what policies are pursued. The fear is that ordinary voters' voices could be drowned out by the sheer volume of money pouring in from the nation's richest individuals and corporations. The Trump administration's decision to decline defending the law left a vacuum, prompting Elias and the Democratic National Committee to step in. This has turned the case into a high-stakes partisan showdown, with the future of campaign finance regulation hanging in the balance. For Elias, this fight is about more than just legal technicalities or partisan advantage. It's about protecting the very foundation of fair and free elections, ensuring that every citizen, regardless of wealth, has an equal voice in choosing their leaders. With a perfect record in his previous Supreme Court cases, Elias faces intense scrutiny and high expectations. The legal community, political observers, and the public are all watching closely to see if he can once again uphold a crucial safeguard for campaign finance. The outcome of this case will not only shape Marc Elias's legacy as a defender of democracy, but will also determine the future of money in American politics, potentially affecting every election for years to come. As the nation waits for the Supreme Court's decision, one thing is clear: the stakes couldn't be higher for the rules that govern our democracy, and for the principle that every vote and every voice should count equally. To understand this case, you need to know how money moves in campaigns. Campaigns are expensive, funded by donors, PACs, and political parties. Federal law has long tried to regulate this money to prevent corruption. The current fight centers on coordinated party expenditures. Money a party spends in direct collaboration with a candidate. These are capped to stop parties from being used as pass-throughs for mega donors. Republicans argue these limits violate free speech and want to remove them, which would allow parties and candidates to work together with no financial ceiling. Striking down these limits would radically change how campaigns are financed. The battle over coordinated spending limits began with the Federal Election Campaign Act in the 1970s, aiming to curb the influence of big money after Watergate. The Supreme Court first addressed these limits in the 1990s, ultimately upholding them in Colorado too, reasoning that coordinated spending is like a direct contribution and can be limited to prevent corruption. For over 20 years, this precedent has kept parties from funneling unlimited cash to candidates. Republican strategists have long sought to overturn these rules, seeing them as a barrier to supporting their nominees. The court's decision to revisit this issue now, with a more conservative majority, signals that the precedent may be at risk. The outcome could dismantle a key pillar of campaign finance law. In court, Republicans argued that limits on coordinated spending violate their First Amendment rights and weaken party candidate collaboration. They claim removing the caps would strengthen parties and improve campaign effectiveness. Marc Elias countered that unlimited coordination would turn parties into mere paymasters, letting megadonors bypass contribution limits and flood campaigns with cash. He warned this would gut anti-corruption safeguards and make parties beholden to a wealthy few. Elias argued that real party strength comes from building infrastructure and grassroots networks, not just raising massive checks. Even some justices seemed wary of the paymaster scenario Elias described. The court must now decide which vision of party power will shape our elections. Elias warns that striking down spending limits would open the floodgates to mega donations. Without caps, parties could solicit million-dollar checks from single donors, promising to use the money directly for a candidate's campaign. This would let donors sidestep the much lower limits on direct contributions, making candidates even more dependent on the ultra-wealthy. The focus of politics would shift further from grassroots engagement to high-dollar fundraising. Elias fears this would deepen public cynicism and erode trust in democracy. He also warns that if parties win unlimited coordination, super PACs could soon demand the same, leading to a completely unregulated system. The risk is a campaign finance system with no meaningful limits at all. The Supreme Court's ruling on this case will set the course for the future of campaign finance in America, shaping not just the rules, but the very nature of our democracy for years to come. The stakes are high, and the outcome will ripple far beyond the courtroom, affecting every election, every candidate, and every voter. If Elias wins, the current system, imperfect but protective, remains in place. This system, while not without flaws, acts as a crucial barrier between the vast resources of wealthy donors and the candidates who seek public office. It helps ensure that no single individual or group can dominate the political process simply by writing the biggest check. Such a decision would reaffirm the government's role in preventing corruption and maintaining some balance in political influence. It would send a message that the integrity of elections matters, and that the voices of ordinary citizens deserve protection from being drowned out by special interests. But if the Republicans prevail, the landscape could change overnight. Political parties would be allowed to spend unlimited amounts in direct coordination with their candidates, erasing long-standing fundraising limits and opening the door to unprecedented sums of money flowing into campaigns. This shift would almost certainly trigger a wave of new legal challenges, as super PACs and other outside groups demand the same freedoms. The legal battles could drag on for years, further complicating the already tangled web of campaign finance law. The result could be a near-total collapse of campaign finance regulation, where the only real limit is the size of a donor's bank account. The influence of money in politics would reach new heights, raising serious questions about the fairness and integrity of our elections. For those who believe that money is a form of free speech, this outcome would be a major victory, expanding the rights of donors and parties alike. But for others, it represents a grave threat to the principle of fair elections, and to the idea that every citizen's voice should count equally. Whatever the outcome, the Supreme Court's decision will echo through every future campaign, shaping the way Americans choose their leaders and the role that money plays in our democracy for generations to come. This isn't the only major democracy case before the Supreme Court. The justices are also weighing a Louisiana redistricting case that could reshape the Voting Rights Act and black representation. Another case, involving Marc Elias, challenges restrictions on mail-in voting, a key battleground since the 2020 election. Republicans argue mail-in voting is vulnerable to fraud. Democrats say it's essential for access. These cases, along with the campaign finance fight, show the court's huge influence over the rules of American democracy. Each decision will affect who votes, how votes are counted, and how campaigns are funded. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter in the battle for fair and representative elections. This Supreme Court case is about more than campaign finance. It's a turning point for American democracy. The outcome will not only affect how campaigns are funded, but also who gets to participate in the political process and whose voices are heard. At its core, this case asks us to consider what kind of democracy we want to build for future generations. It follows a series of landmark decisions, like Citizens United, that have already increased the power of money in politics and shifted the landscape of American elections. Each ruling has chipped away at previous restrictions, making it easier for wealthy individuals and special interests to influence outcomes. For reformers, the coordinated spending limit is one of the last defenses against total deregulation. They argue that without these limits, the floodgates could open even wider, allowing a handful of donors to dominate the conversation and drown out the voices of everyday Americans. History has shown that when money flows unchecked into politics, scandals and corruption often follow. Reformers warn that removing limits could erode public trust and make it harder for ordinary citizens to believe their vote matters. The core question: should democracy be shaped by the wealthiest voices, or should there be safeguards to ensure everyone has a say? This debate goes beyond legal arguments. It's about the fundamental fairness of our system, and whether every citizen, regardless of wealth, can participate equally. Republicans argue that more money means more speech, believing that removing limits encourages robust debate and supports free expression, and Elias and others warn it means more power for the few and that democracy risks becoming a privilege for those who can afford it. Reasonable limits, they say, are essential to keep government accountable to the people, not just donors. Without them, the gap between elected officials and the public could widen, undermining faith in the system and discouraging participation. The court's decision will define the character of American elections for years to come. It will set a precedent that could either strengthen the guardrails of democracy or remove them entirely, changing how campaigns are run and who has influence. As the nation waits, the future of democracy hangs in the balance. The stakes are high, and the outcome will echo through every election, shaping the voice of the people for generations.